So I've spent most of my life living in and around the Indian Ocean. I was born in Calcutta. I then worked for several years in Bombay, and then spent a fair amount of my life living in Singapore. So not surprisingly, I was always interested in the histories, the economics, the culture of these places. I was influenced by it, and of course, being a history buff, I looked around and read and visited places. And over a period of time, I began to feel that somehow the story of these places, my story, was not being told. And the reason for that is, for some strange reason, the history of India is written from a very inland perspective, almost a Delhi-centric perspective. And somehow this is very unsatisfactory, because it doesn't allow you to see the interlinkages with the rest of the world that India has had for millennia over the oceans. India is a maritime country. It has had a very rich maritime tradition, and yet this is completely missing from the narrative. The little that we have is written from such a perspective, like, for example, the Chola raids, in such a way that it doesn't tell you why, for example, the Cholas were making raids on the Srivijaya kingdom of Sumatra. So unless you understand the history of the wider region, it totally doesn't make sense. Now, the few books that do exist about the Indian Ocean have been written by Westerners. And again, of course, they have written it from their perspective. So really, it's almost as if the Indian Ocean history gets going when Vasco da Gama turns up and discovers this part of the world, which is completely gives the wrong impression, because of course the people of the Indian Ocean have been living there for millions of thousands of years, and they have they have had trade links, there have been migrations, they have exchange of ideas, goods, and this is a rich history that is simply forgotten, both by, of course, ourselves because of our inland bias, but also when you hear the history from a Western perspective, they obviously ignore the pre-colonial part of our heritage.